Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to or watching the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 3, Episode 3. And the title of this episode was Open for Business. And I am joined today by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
What's up, indeed? And I am also joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you, Dana?
I'm doing very lovely. I'm so happy to be here, talk about my favourite episodes.
Awesome. Yeah, this was another good episode. Maybe not as like action packed as the last one, but it was still very interesting. Like if you followed what was going on, like it's some interesting things going on. So yeah, I won't delay too much. We're gonna get into our takeaways in just a second. But as always, just want to big up the people for leaving comments. I we always encourage you guys to share your thoughts and theories. Also, we love to hear those. You guys have some great thoughts. Usually, sometimes it's things that we don't even mention, or you mention things in like a way that we didn't even think about. So we love reading all of those comments. So please continue to do that because you guys are just as much part of the show as we are, with that. So definitely get involved in the comments, hit the like button also, and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out the Coalition Entertainment and the Coalition Gaming. Also, there should be some content over there by the time you check this out. But yeah, we'll get right into this episode because there's a lot to break down. As I said, it wasn't as like forward with the action as the last episode, but there was a lot to unpack, with the events of this episode. So I want to hear what both Richard and Dana have to say, about this episode. But this week, it is Richard's turn to go first. So, Richard, when you're ready, hit us with your takeaways.
So, first and foremost, another great episode of Raising Kanan. As Gary mentioned, there is a lot to unpack in this episode. So, I'm going to keep my takeaways to three. There are a couple things that I won't mention. I'm sure Gary or Dana will mention it, but if it's something that I didn't mention, we definitely are going to talk about it because I do have some more to say when we get to those topics if Gary asks those questions. So, first and foremost, let me start the takeaways talking about Unique and Ronnie in this episode. Now, I did say on last week's show that when Ronnie saw that security guard, he's probably going to kill him. And sure enough, that's what happened to start off this episode. A very savage death for this guy. But hey, I guess, listen, you got to take this character serious. You don't say nothing to piss him off because he will remember it and he'll come back after you later. And pretty much what I like about this character is you do see once again in this episode the relationship that he has with Unique. And it continues to feel very uncomfortable because there's a scene that happens right after that scene where Unique and Ronnie go to the gym. And basically, he keeps telling Unique, you should have took Rock out a long time ago. You can't trust her, so on and so forth. And at the same time, he's pressing up on Unique, asking, what's going on with the money? When are we going to start making money running business? And Unique is trying to, once again, tell him, hey, you need to be patient. I'm working on a couple of different things. Just hold tight. But you can see that he is getting very anxious and doesn't really like being told to just wait. So I look forward to seeing what happens. We do see as the episode progresses, Unique does close a deal with Quan. This is the Vietnamese heroin supplier. And they have a very interesting conversation about the way that relationship is set up with, his sister and the fact that he wanted them to work out of that Chinese food spot. Very interesting conversation, I will say. So I want to see where that relationship goes. And of course, we do see later in the episode that Unique does go there. He has a conversation with the guy running the shop, and pretty much they're going to use that as a place to sell more of the product. So let's see where that goes. Meanwhile, Ronnie continues to stir up trouble. He does have a conversation with Unique's girl in this episode. and kind of puts it in her head that Unique might be messing around with somebody else. We also see that Ronnie is spying on Unique. When Unique decides to go pay Raquel a visit, he sees Unique leaving. So, like I said, this character, I like how they have the tension building between both brothers. So I do want to see where they're going with that. But yeah, like I said, very intimidating character. And so I want to see what's going to happen next. But this is not going to end well. I can tell you that. I think we can obviously make that deduction. This is probably not going to end well between whatever's going on between him and Unique. And then, of course, the fact that he does want Raquel out the picture. I look forward to seeing what happens with that. So that's the first takeaway. Second takeaway I want to talk about in this episode, I like how they focused on Lulu a lot in this episode. They gave you a whole backstory on their father, what happened to the father, the fact that he was a musician, and how Lulu basically got his love for music. I love how they spent time focusing on that and really emphasize Lulu in this episode, because I know we had said before previously, we felt like this season was going to be a redemption season for Lulu to basically focus on what he wants to do. He said he's out the game, so now he's focused on music again, but he needed some passion to get back into it. And I like how the start of this episode, you see, he was helping Jukebox finish up for this audition. Unfortunately, he did not make it to the audition, and I think that she's not going to be too happy about that. Her and Marvin are not going to be too happy about that. The next time they see Lulu in the next episode, I would predict, because that was a big moment. He was supposed to be there, and obviously he didn't make it there because he visited that cafe. He had the very great conversation with the bartender who knew his father. And basically, you got a glimpse of him looking into his future, that he wants to basically try to help the upcoming rappers, the people who are performing in that cafe. That could be his new hustle. That could be how he basically gets back into music. But prior to that, I do want to say, when he got into the fight and then he ended up getting arrested. I like how they had the scene where he envisioned the two guys in front of him with both D-Wiz and Scrappy, because obviously he's still dealing with what happened to those characters, the fact that he killed D-Wiz and the fact that Scrappy got killed right in front of him. So I like that they emphasize that, and I definitely want to see where they're going. But again, I just like the fact that they're giving Lulu something to do this season. You hope the best for the character, and I'm looking forward to seeing where things go from here as far as the music is concerned, and whether or not there's going to be any issues with that. So stay tuned for that. And my final takeaway of this episode is I really like what they did with Kanan in this episode. Obviously, once again, they decided to approach Simrat for business. And, while he's there talking about business, trying to get him involved, Simrat's son does mention that Famous is a problem. Famous is an issue. He came by smoking up all the product, eating his cereal. And of course, you do see that Kanan tells Simrat, don't worry about anything. You're dealing with me directly. But obviously, we know that Famous is a problem. So Kanan is going to have to watch Famous as far as that's concerned. But then on the other tip of that as well, we see that Raquel, after talking with Howard, she visits Kanan because she wants to see who is he dealing with, who is he working with now. Tries to get information out of Famous. Famous doesn't tell her anything. She gives him money. And then they had that very heated conversation between Kanan and Famous, where he pretty much tells him, I don't take nothing from my mom. If she comes back here again and you take anything from her, you and I are going to have a problem. I'm going to beat you down. So he warned Famous about this. So what I'm saying is definitely need to watch out for Famous, because he has some issues. He's going to be a liability, I feel, later. So I want to see which direction they take that entire relationship in further down the line. And then, of course, we do see Kanan is continuing to grow his business. He does make a call out. He does tell Famous we need to hire more delivery boys. I am, of course, the Raising Kanan delivery driver. So they saw my extensive background of all the stuff that I've done, because I actually do delivery work on the side. That's why I was an excellent candidate for that position. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I can help them. But finally, to close out this takeaway, we do see at the very end, while Kanan is having success, Ronnie is there. Ronnie shows up. He's watching Kanan. So it makes me very curious to see where they're going to take this moving forward, because again, they started the episode with Ronnie and they ended the episode with Ronnie. You know how dangerous this guy is. You know that he does not like Raquel. He's going to have an issue with Kanan, I would assume, as well. So I look forward to seeing where they go. But overall, I thought this was a fantastic episode. Like I mentioned before, there's a lot of other things that happened that I did not want to mention because, Gary or Dana might mention it, but we are going to talk about it at some point. So stay tuned for that. But I thought it was an excellent episode.
And those were excellent takeaways as well. So well done with those observations. And you actually did mention some things that I was going to touch on too in my takeaways. And, we are going to discuss it more also in the questions and discussion. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and give my takeaways now. Dana should be back in a moment. But yeah, so let me begin. So the first thing I wanted to mention is that who's that? Is that Dana? Okay. Dana's back. So yeah, the first thing I wanted to mention is I kind of see like a parallel forming between OG Power and Raising Kanan here. And the reason I say that is because we know that right now, Kanan isn't really rocking with his mother at the moment, right? And then on the other side of things, you have Unique's brother, Ronnie, and he clearly, isn't liking the situation with Raquel. Now he knows that Unique is messing with Raquel, because he followed Unique. And we see what happens at the end where Ronnie is staring intensely at Kanan. Now, he's probably shown up there with the intention to maybe mess with Kanan to get at Raquel. But once he knows that, Kanan actually isn't rocking with Raquel right now, maybe, he'll see some sort of opportunity to manipulate Kanan and use him as a tool, use him as a chess piece. Now, if you think back to OG Power, that's the exact same thing Kanan did to Tariq, because Tariq wasn't rocking with Ghost at all. And, Kanan, there's that scene where Kanan was actually going to kill Tariq until he realized that, Tariq had some hatred for his father pent up, and he was expressing himself and he was like, wow, you really hate your father. And then that's when he made the decision to kind of use Tariq as a tool, as a pawn, against Ghost. So to me, this seems like a parallel that could be kind of forming, and maybe this is what actually makes Kanan do the same thing to Tariq later on in his life. Maybe it's because of this Ronnie situation. So I'm really interested to see what the interaction is going to be like between Kanan and Ronnie when they actually, have a conversation, because we know they do from the trailer, and I'm going to guess that might be in the next episode where when the two characters finally interact, because Kanan, Kanan already actually knows who Ronnie is, because he told Famous like that's Unique's brother, so he's aware of who he is at least. So it should be a very interesting conversation when they actually meet up and talk. And that scene in the trailer looks like it was kind of outside of the apartment building or something. So yeah, I definitely think that's probably about to happen. But it'll be very interesting if these two characters kind of like team up, and if Ronnie maybe starts to advise Kanan on, his hustle that he has, because, we see that his hustle is starting to pay off. It's starting to, um, it's starting to pick up, and he actually needs more couriers to sustain the business and everything. So Ronnie might see that as an opportunity for himself, and because clearly he doesn't trust what his brother is doing right now. So yeah, that could be interesting. But my second takeaway is that Lulu, I think he might have found his new calling, because Lulu has been kind of lost in the past two episodes. He's been drinking heavy, getting drunk and like just staying at the club and just kind of being a bum almost. And it was the jukebox audition that kind of gave him a little motivation to kind of be an uncle. But obviously, we see in this episode that he misses the audition, unfortunately. But he does stumble on perhaps a new opportunity. And even though I'm sure Jukebox and Uncle Marvin are upset that Lulu missed the audition, maybe he can make it up to Jukebox with this new opportunity that he has. And of course, that opportunity is that, he found that bar and he started talking to the bartender. And, he kind of offered, his services in a way, saying that, if you need bands or artists to come and play here, I can help you out. I find it funny that after leaving jail, his first or Dana, you might need to mute for a sec because I could hear. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so the first thing Lulu did after coming out of jail was to go visit the bartender and say apologize to her. He didn't even apologize to Jukebox for missing her audition. So that was hilarious. You know, but yeah, like clearly he sees this as like a prime opportunity, and it was cool how he connected with the bartender through his father, talking about his father. I guess he heard the music and then he went in and then he asked her about where'd you get the song, and his father actually played the instruments on that song that she was playing. So that was a cool little insight, like Richard said. That was a cool insight into Lulu's father, and the Thomas family and everything, because we don't know a whole lot, but just the little bits of information that we get is like real cool to know, just to see how things turned out, you know. And of course, the bartender apologized for what happened to his father, and he was like, "Oh, nothing happened to him. He just stopped, he stopped caring and stopped believing in himself or whatever." And that was pretty deep because Lulu was actually almost in that kind of state of mind where he almost was giving up, getting drunk and everything. So it's cool now that he's found this new kind of opportunity, perhaps, and maybe this will be like his second coming. Maybe he'll start being like a big local promoter to promote new talent in the area and stuff like that. We see that he was sticking up for the rappers that were performing, like, because the guy didn't want to hear it at all. Like he was like, "Oh, what's this hip hop junk or whatever?" Like, he wasn't used to the hip hop, I guess. So he was hating, and then Lulu, fought him and stuff. So that shows that Lulu is very passionate about the music and the upcoming acts, and he wants to have that sort of manager, producer, promoter kind of role. So maybe this, is going to be therapy for him. Maybe this is going to help him bounce back. And it's not bulletproof records, so Raquel doesn't own the situation, so it's something that he can have for himself almost. So that was cool, pretty cool to see. um and then yeah, the final takeaway is like it seems like the FBI is working very fast, because they're doing quick work right now. So obviously we see at the start of the episode they brought in Stefano, and they were kind of grilling him, telling him, yo, if you had anything to do with Sal, then we're gonna find out about it and bring your whole operation down or whatever. And then so it seems like from that scene it seemed like they didn't really have solid evidence, but then at the end of the episode, we see that they're tailing, Raquel. I mean, we see that throughout the episode because even when she goes to visit Kanan, there's a surveillance van right up the block. So they're, they're on the tail. And what I'll say is like, Unique actually is working with Stefano. Like he the whole deal with the the Asian dudes and the Chinese store, that is in collaboration with the Italians and Stefano, because they help to distribute the sales. So if and then there was a scene where Raquel, and she warned Unique about working with the Italians and said, I don't want any of this mess to come back to me. But it seems like this could really expose her in a different way, because first of all, if the FBI catches wind of what Unique is doing and it trails back to Stefano, and maybe the FBI sees that Unique and Raquel have a relationship or a situation, this it all connects, and then if it gets to Raquel, then what is Howard going to do? Howard is going to have to kind of protect her and pull out the stops. Otherwise, it could trail all the way back to Kanan, and that's what they're trying to protect at the end of the day. So Howard is in a really pressurized situation, because the FBI, that's a whole other level of smoke right there. Like that's because they're separate from the actual police. They're doing their own thing. They're just using the resources of the police department. But Howard, he can't. He has no say in what the FBI is doing, and he can't really meddle in their investigation because he's not FBI. So that's going to be a big threat to him, to Raquel, and to Kanan. So and they're already on Raquel's case. So that's it seems like things are going to be really heating up with this investigation. And I'm curious to see how that's going to go, because we see that Raquel actually is interested in investing in a business and stuff. Like she wants to kind of use her money to invest. So all of this would be a very bad time for her to get some sort of assets investigation or something like that, because obviously her money is drug money. So she even told the guy that any money I give you is going to be in cash. So, so she's very exposed at the moment. But yeah, usually in Power, there's always some sort of investigation storyline or subplot. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but I'm really interested to see where this one goes, because on top of the FBI, you've also got the IID. They're still investigating Burke's case. And let me just say that Omar Epps is amazing, like as an actor. Like that scene where he goes to talk to I think is it Foyle, Detective Foyle, where he goes to talk to her, and like the level of like mental manipulation that he displays is like crazy. Like he kind of throws her off the whole scent. Like he makes her feel like she's wrong basically for suspecting anything. Like he's like, yo, he basically tells her like Burke was in her own head, so of course she killed herself and everything. And like Foyle was believing every word he said by the end of the conversation, it seemed like. And Howard was even like, oh, if you need anything, just call me and I'll help you out. He was giving it all that friendliness. So this guy is like, he's he's real interesting to watch this season, like his character. But he's definitely going to be in hot water by the end of the episode. I guarantee it, because he's got FBI breathing down his neck and IID, and I just don't see how he could escape this. Eventually it's going to lead back to him, Burke's death and his ties to Raquel and Kanan. So there's only so long his act can withstand. But yeah, it was great TV just to watch that, in my opinion. And all of the actors on the show are doing a wonderful job. There's more I could say, but only 3 takeaways. But we will be having our discussions in a little bit. But for now, let's hear from Miss Dana Abercrombie, because I'm real curious to see what she thought of this episode. So go
I'm
ahead,
officially
Dana.
referring. I'm officially referring to Howard as Diddy Love right now. Because did he do it? Allegedly. Um, This episode, I absolutely love this episode because we got to see something we have not seen for a really long time. And it came from the gut, it came from the spirit. And that is Jukebox smiled. She was smiling and cheesing all through this episode, and she was looking at herself in the mirror, and she was singing, and she was clutching her little necklace, and she was just so happy. And she looked at that the pamphlet, and it kind of felt like, you know what? If this works out, I don't want to even think about that. I don't want to escape anymore. And I was so happy for her. And again, we have not seen this since maybe what, episode one, season one. Remember when they were all gathered by the table, like a nice big family before everything just went downhill? That was the last time I truly felt Jukebox was really, really happy. That and when she was with her little girlfriend. But that was like true from the gut. And gosh, this gave me anxiety because you don't know what's going to happen. She only had like what, 30 seconds really to sing. And that's how it really is in auditions. Now, people think like, oh, they cut her off. She's going to be a no. She could be a yes. That is how it really is when you at these auditions, especially when you saw the line out the door. They have limited time. These are people who can pick up something really quickly. And I just really hope that it works out. And she didn't have any attitude or anything. And remember when that girl was like handing her something in the bathroom? I didn't know if it was pill. I was like, oh Lord, it's pills. But it wasn't any pills. So I was extremely happy for that. And also because of the fact that Lou wasn't there and they didn't have the track, I think could help her even more because you heard the richness and just deliciousness of her voice. So it made me really, really happy. Another thing that's not technically a takeaway that I did want to mention because I automatically thought of it when Rodney was beating the security guard's head in with the door. Y'all remember Netflix Daredevil? Remember Fisk when that guy was trying to talk to Vanessa? And then you would see like he's really calm. There's nothing that's going on with him. And then later you just see him beat the guy in the head with the door to the point where it almost decapitated him. I loved it. I love that scene so much. Rodney is giving me all kinds of Fisk vibes, that really professional, stern, but then also there's no emotion, which Fisk does have emotion, but it's just amazing. And then how he was standing there at the end, if you all remember Mike Myers, he is Black Mike Myers. How he's just standing there, and the thing about him is he isn't someone who's like creeping in the dark, I'm gonna go spy on you. He lets you know I'm looking for you. He lets you know, like if I'm gonna kill you, you know it's gonna be me, and I'm coming back for you, either it's now, later, tomorrow, next week, or 3 seconds. I love it. Also, what's really interesting with this is that I know it's really easy. Well, for me, you would think that, oh, maybe he's going to talk to Kanan in order to, get back at get back at Rock for messing with Unique, and Unique not standing up because remember he wanted him to kill Rock. So you're like, but maybe he's actually using this to finesse him, to like make him think that we're friends. But then again, I'm like, he's too scary to be friends with anyone. And the fact that I can't get what his play is makes it even wonderful because I don't want answers. I just want to guess and be shocked when it does happen. So my takeaways actually are this. The show really kind of opened up with the fact that, the fish in a tank. The fish can only grow for whatever environment you put it in. You put it in a small environment with a small tank, it's not going to get big. But once you introduce it to a bigger space, it grows and it flourishes. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot with this episode. We do finally know what Rock was doing when she, remember in the trailer, when she walked up to that strip, and we're like, oh, she's going to buy it. Oh, she's selling something out of there. We do know that she does buy this from her landlord. And this, could offer up better opportunities for both her and the family. I still wonder, we don't know if she's really out. But this, I believe, could be kind of the headquarters for whatever it is she does decide to do. Also, she's investing in different properties, which we saw kind of previously before, but this is really, really good stuff here. The only problem is that the feds are tracking her everywhere she goes. But we do see her kind of grow and expand and try to move out of the drug business. But maybe again, this is her plan the whole time, and she's secretly establishing stuff to go back into the drug part. Um, Another thing I wanted to mention was Famous and Kanan. Their relationship is very interesting, where Famous was always a follower to Kanan, and now we're seeing him resist more. Granted, he's giving me bum vibes, but at the same time, he's still young and he's still figuring out things, but he's still also a bum. But it really does go to show that Famous is kind of, once he saw the money, yes, that's terrible because we all know what he's going to probably do. But I'm really looking forward to him continuing to say no, and we see that separation between him and Famous, or between him and Kanan, because I don't think that he is someone who is going to completely follow Kanan in that drug life thing. He is not a Tommy per se. He is not a, what's the other guy from the other Power show? He's not him either. But he, I think, is going to start standing more on his own. We saw him with the situation with the money, where he's like, yeah, but your mom got his money, and so we don't have to do this anymore. And you could truly see that maybe he just is a pothead and just wants to smoke his drugs and do other things. This is not something that he wants to participate in. And I wonder if this is going to fracture the friendship. I did speak to the actor who plays Famous, as well as Kanan, about their relationship, and we do start to see them grow. So that's what I can give you for the future. What that means, I don't know yet. How long it'll take to get there, I don't know yet. But right now, we're already planting the seeds for them to kind of separate. But that money always can change things up. And if your heart is really not into it, it means maybe he's not as good as the job. Maybe he ends up, slipping up and it leads to him being injured or murdered. We don't know. Or maybe he's someone who does things from just the house. We don't know. But we do start seeing the seeds of them separating. One of the other things that's really great that I loved was the fact that, Lou, you guys already kind of mentioned this, but we do have more information about his dad. So we kind of learn the person who his dad was and how that shaped him. I also spoke to Malcolm Mays, who plays Lulu, and he does talk. We talk about finding success and failure, and whether or not he's inspired by his father's failure in order to succeed. And we started seeing that because he talked about his father gave up on his dreams, on being a musician. They had boxing that was also in there. He just gave up on everything. And so his goal is not to be his father. So that's why we automatically see, yes, his place is shot up, Zazi's dead, his business is ruined. But here comes another opportunity. And it's not that he forgot what was going on with the jukebox. It was just way too late. He wouldn't have been able to make it on time. So he chose the other option to go to that bar and to just apologize because he realized that his actions in general was just terrible. And, I think that this is a new opportunity that he says that he sees. He could be that promoter. He could be that A&R guy, but it's just taking a different route as opposed to something that is on his own in terms of, when he was trying to do the business thing. And also it's separate from Rock. And at this moment, Rock doesn't really seem to be concerned about his business. She's busy doing her own thing and unique. So she's just not really clued in with her brothers right now. So again, we start to see them move differently. And this could bring him more clients as opposed to him just being on his own with a studio. And it's more legit as opposed to being with, what was it, Crown? So yay. Um, so this could be a better opportunity for him as well. And then lastly, I really want to sorry talk about um sorry that they got what was Tony Danza's character no, it's not Sal, it's the other one,
Stefano.
Stefano, sorry. Stefano is currently being tied up at the moment. He's busy with the feds and that gun charge and the false other charge. So they might drop that really soon. But again, it's really easy. It's really interesting how they can move people out of the way, and Unique was a part of that. Once they started bringing up the fish, I'm like, I think that was Unique's doing. Um, so I really love how Unique comes in and is like, I want to do business. I'm a friend, but in actuality, you see how he's being underhanded, and he can clearly is moving chess pieces around so that he could take in the business and start moving into different spots. So I really do like that. Also, it goes to show that he is a very good thinker and a good tactic, chess player as well. And you see that with, unlike with Rodney, um, he just goes about it with using his brains as opposed to maybe Rodney is really the muscle, and we don't know yet. It's interesting to see that dynamic and how they work out because they do have a lot of similar qualities. They're both good thinkers. They're good strategists. Although Unique had his own problems with Raquel. I just think that Rodney doesn't care. I think he doesn't have emotion, so he's not really able to care. So it could make him a more deadlier brother. But it would be interesting to see how these two work together. And it was a moment. It was interesting. It was very fleeting when he was in the gym and he was spotting him. Well, I just kind of wondered, at any moment he could just kind of kill him and make it look like an accident. Um, so I really like the tension that they build up between those two there. So that would be kind of my main thing. Also, I like what Kanan is doing. Remember, now he's growing. He's out of his mother's shadow, even though it might end up in being something worse at the moment. But at the moment, he's successful with his choreo business. So, yay, some Grubhub for weed. I like it.
Grubhub for weed. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for your, your insight. Because shouts to Dana because she went to the Raising Canaan premiere and everything, and she has a bunch of interviews. You guys probably seen a lot of them already. By the time this comes out. But yeah, thanks for sharing some of that insight and what the cast was saying as well about the development of their characters. So yeah, excellent takeaways there. And was you going to say something additional?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, we have two interviews. You guys already seen two interviews dropping every week. We also have shorts that'll be in there. We have photos from the event, so you guys just stay tuned to the site.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, check out all the community posts. If you're following us on Twitter, also we've been posting the premiere videos and stuff. So definitely check that out. But yeah, Dana's been hard at work, man. So shouts to Dana. But yeah, now it's time to get into a questions and discussion segment. This is, what I look forward to because I want to hear, some more thoughts from you guys. Like, you guys have such great theories. So let's start off with this, right? Because Ronnie was such a big focal point of this episode. The episode starts and ends with Ronnie. So yeah, we got to talk about this, like the dynamic between Ronnie and Unique. We saw a lot between these characters. Like the gym scene that Dana just mentioned. So the question I have for you guys is, do you think Unique is scared of his brother? And I ask this question because he is clearly choosing not to say anything to Raquel about Ronnie. He hasn't mentioned Ronnie. And then also, with regards to Raquel, when Unique is talking to Ronnie, he keeps it very vague in what he says, like, oh, Raquel isn't part of the game anymore and stuff. Like, so like, do you think part of him fears what Ronnie might do? And or is it just that he doesn't want him to mess up the business? Like, is it just that he doesn't want him to mess up the business, or do you think he generally fears him? Because this could be the case with older brothers sometimes. Sometimes the younger brother, like, he he's afraid of what the older brother might do, or he's afraid that the older brother might, mess up his swag or whatever, like, and make him look like a little boy or son him or something like that. So do you feel this is the case with Unique? And also, to add on to the question, like, do you think Unique has kind of a backup plan or a method of dealing with Ronnie if he gets out of hand? Because at the moment, he's putting a lot of trust in him, with him being living at home, where his girl lives and his child and everything. Like, do you think Unique is kind of like thinking 5 steps ahead and thinking like, okay, if Ronnie does this, then I'm gonna do this. So yeah, that's just another little add-on to it. But the question is, do you think he's scared of him and does he fear him? So I'm gonna go to you first, Dana. What do you think about that?
It's an interesting relationship that they have. I genuinely feel he is terrified of him. And you can go back to the first episode. Yeah, the first episode was when they kind of introduced him. Usually my brother got out of jail. Oh my God, yay, big bro, little bro, bro, right? We didn't get any of that. It was your brother that just got out of jail. He's in the house. What? And you saw that kind of look in each other's eye where he just, to me, he kind of just went back into like a little boy in a way. Hi, how are you? And like he was talking to his abusive dad. You're okay. And the first thing that the guy said to him wasn't like, oh my gosh, hi, great to be back. I got out of prison. Woo. What was it? It was sleeve, cut. You know, there was no warmth there. It was just like, you exist? Okay, kind of situation. I mean, it was like a genuine discomfort. Like the entire house dynamic seemed to change. I'm happy the child is not there because I would have felt sad as well. Um, so for me,
Oh, you're muted.
sorry
Technical
about that.
difficulty.
I do feel that he fears him. I don't think that there's that loving relationship at all. It might be a situation where it's like kill or be killed between the two of them. And as I was saying before, he gives me that Mike Myers vibe where he's just staring and it's terrifying. And all you just need is that tin 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 tin, and then you're dead. I don't. I feel that also he kind of said in the car, I gave you this business to run in a way of you're replacing me since I was in jail. But what's really interesting is that he never argued for his spot back. Like, thank you, I can come into play now. He never argued for that back. And that makes me wonder, is he trying to outsmart his brother in terms of, I'm going to just take it instead of asking for it back? And that's why he's staring at Kanan. That's why he's bringing up Rock. That's why he's, always in the background just lurking. He doesn't seem like someone who's going to tell you what the plan is. He's going to just do the plan. And if you don't do the plan according to him, even if you don't know what that plan is, he's going to still find a way to kill you. So I just feel that it's a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation because he is that unpredictable. And that's why I love
Yeah, that's an excellent point. He didn't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm back being the boss now." Like Avon Barksdale when he got out of jail, like he just took his spot back. From Stringer. That wasn't what Ronnie did. He was kind of laid back and just seeing what Unique was doing and stuff. So yeah, he could have his own motives. Of how he wants to take things back, I guess. But Rich, what do you think about that? Do you think Unique is scared of Ronnie? And also, do you think Unique has, a contingency plan in place if Ronnie steps too far out of line?
First and foremost, yeah, I thought I agree with what Dana said on her comments. I do believe that he is genuinely scared of Ronnie, Unique. Uh, but I also think that it's a situation where Unique is trying to prove that he is his own man. He can do things by his own ways, and Ronnie is very stubborn to really believe that because, like Dana said, he gave the business to Unique. He was hoping that Unique was going to continue to run it properly, but I think this is the issue where Unique has to prove to Ronnie he has a situation well in hand. He's still capable of leading, despite the fact that he's lost a lot of people. Because obviously, we know last season, Unique lost a lot of his people with all this stuff with the Italians. So obviously, I could understand why Ronnie would be hesitant to believe him, why he does not trust Raquel. But I think this is a situation where Unique has to prove to him that he can stand on his own 2 feet. But what I like about this episode, and with the Ronnie character in particular, he keeps stirring the pot, causing issues. I think it's very interesting how they did add the scene where once again he told Unique's girl he might be messing around with somebody else, So that I think is going to be an issue. Maybe put some suspicions in her head that Unique is doing something because, again, instead of dealing with the stuff with Ronnie, he's always out there messing around with Raquel, trying to avoid going into that. But I kind of feel like at some point it is going to get to that, and I want to see what happens when they get there. But to answer your question, Gary, I do believe that he is scared. I do believe that Ronnie definitely has a contingency plan. And I also want to give you a shout out, Gary, because the parallel that you made about how this could be parallel to the original Power, that's an excellent theory I didn't think about with the whole manipulation thing. I do think that Kanan, however, is I don't know if Kanan is going to go for that because Kanan, he was very adamant with Famous in this episode, said, listen, we're not taking no money from Raquel. You're going to do things the way that I want them done. We don't, because he's really trying out to prove that he can really do this. So that's why I said when he has the interaction with Ronnie, I definitely want to see where that goes because I don't think that he will be willing to listen to Ronnie. I kind of feel like Ronnie definitely could see it as a way to try to get into his head because that he does once he finds out that he is not really close to Raquel, he's trying to separate himself from her as well. But I don't know if Kanan will be one to fully trust Ronnie and go in full because, again, he's trying to do his own thing anyway. So he doesn't really want anybody to help him in any way, shape, or form. But I definitely want to see where they go when they have that conversation because, like you said, I think that's going to happen in the next episode. And then other things are going to start to happen. But we have to wait and see how everything plays out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dana, did you have something you want to say? But, oh, technical difficulties, but
Hello?
she's coming. Okay, here she is.
So weird, but it
Yeah.
does that. Sorry. I was going to say that it's going to be a really interesting dynamic between Kanan and Rodney if they ever do have a conversation because, Kanan is a little hard-headed, and he knows what he wants, but at the same time, he's never met a force like Rodney. And so if he tries to outsmart or thinks he's going to play him, ooh, that's going to be a really interesting thing. And I think that the only reason why there would be any kind of conversation with them is one or two things. It's one, he wants to get back at Raquel. And two, the way how he's handling the business so far, granted, the corner boys are not out on the streets as they were back in his day because times have changed. And also the feds, which was another thing that nobody's accounting for. The feds, they're hot and they're looking for action. But the fact that he does still have those corner boys, they're just boys on a scooter, boys on bicycles, and maybe the way how they're moving and the speed of which they're moving could interest Rodney. But at the same time, he could feel that they are violating his space or the space that he once had when he, before he went in jail. And so maybe his goal is to run the business the exact same way as he did before in those exact same spots. So that's interesting. And then also, we do know that the feds are looking at Raquel specifically. And with that, it's going to be the family. So Jukebox is fine. But what is Kanan doing? Why is Kanan always surrounded by these boys? Why are they looking in their backpacks? Why are they passing packages? So at the moment for Kanan, I would be more concerned about the feds than Rodney. But at the same time, Rodney is crazier than the feds. So I don't know. He's screwed right now. Blessings. Prayers to Kanan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ronnie could pose a threat, but here's something to remember about Kanan as well, because I did make that parallel with OG Power, and the situation is very similar, with Kanan and Tariq and Ronnie and Kanan, but Kanan is not Tariq. That's one thing to remember. Like Kanan is no sucker. Like we've seen Kanan fight grown men already, in this show. So he's not gonna, he's not gonna just sit by and let Ronnie kind of, do whatever to him. I think and that's not to this Tariq. It's just he grew up different from Kanan. So Kanan, he fights grown men, whereas Tariq he gets beaten by a bag of oranges or whatever it was. That Dana's favorite scene.
To
So
be fair, though, he orchestrated those oranges. So he's a little dumb dumb. But to be fair, that was smart because who would think? Let me get my own self beaten by a bag of oranges, because that's how much I hate my father. Let him think that I'm gonna die with these oranges, but it's still dumb. But I don't see
Okay.
Kanan doing that. I don't see any version of Kanan doing that because it's just something about how they carry themselves are two different ways, and it's because they also have two different backgrounds. You remember, Tariq was extremely spoiled, was given anything, and his "I hate you" dads come across as like emo phases. I hate your mom, I hate your dad, ugh, right? And Kanan was raised in the streets. He chose this lifestyle. He's learning from it. He's growing from it. While Tariq is just this spoiled kid who is trying to defy his father. And even though he killed his father, and he's still trying to defy him. And it's like that
yeah.
weird dynamic as opposed to Kanan. Kanan right now, he grew up not knowing, he knew who his dad was. He loved him, discovered that that was a whole lie, tried to kill his actual dad. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to kill him. He followed his mother. So it's a different Patrice is spoiled and dumb. Kanan has been manipulated. He chose his lifestyle. He's trying to outsmart everybody, but for a reason. So you can't compare the two at all.
Can I just make one comment and say I understand the comparison. I do want to say this though, Gary. I got to give Tariq a little bit of credit because of that beatdown that he gave Braden last season in Ghosts. That was a pretty hilarious beatdown. So he know how to fight a little bit now.
He's
Oh yeah,
learning.
he got tough.
Yeah.
He eventually got tough. Yeah. So yeah, we gotta give him his credit. But yeah, like great thoughts overall on that. I do want to see what the dynamic with Ronnie is going to be, between him, Kanan, and Unique, because there's so many ways that can go. I mean, for example, like here's another little nugget. What if there's a situation where Ronnie does like, maybe he's watching Kanan for a long time and then like he pulls a move on him, maybe kidnaps him to get at Raquel or something. Who is Unique gonna side with? Is he gonna side with Raquel to help get Kanan back and save Kanan, or is he gonna side with his brother? So that situation could come up. Go ahead, Dana. Dana was saying something, I think.
Here's the thing. I hope that they're able to keep it strictly business between the two. I would hate for emotions to get involved because I just don't like emotions in my plot. We all know, no matter what, Rock is choosing her son, no matter what. And Unique knows that Rock is choosing her son no matter what. So it's really going to be, it could literally be a fight, or it could be a situation where, remember how in the very beginning when they introduced Rodney was the guy that the bully was afraid of. He was the bully's bully, right? Remember in whatchamacallit Friday, Debo was the bully. They had to team together in order to get rid of Debo. So maybe this may be a situation where Unique has to team with Rock Southside in order to get rid of Rodney. Because at that moment, what we're dealing with, it's kind of fear. It's not. I don't detect an ounce of love. I detect fear. So that could make the decision easier for them to just, I'm going to choose you, not because of any emotion or any kind of love. It's because I genuinely fear my brother for him. And then for Rock, is my son.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a compelling situation if that situation arises. Kind of reminds me of Kanan and Jukebox and Tariq, because he had to make a decision to save Tariq when Jukebox was ready to kill him. So a situation like that could be incoming between these characters. Rich was you. Oh, I think Dana was going to say something as well.
Oh,
Go
no, I
ahead,
was gonna
Rich.
say, I was gonna say, yeah, I agree with everything you both said. It is gonna get personal though, because we already know that Raquel doesn't play about her son. She obviously she's very upset. She wants to make sure Kanan doesn't get into any other trouble. So I kind of feel like Unique is going to be in a situation where he's going to have to make a decision. Now, obviously, if Ronnie makes a lot of bad moves and it impacts the business stuff that Unique is trying to build up, then that will make it easier for him, right? Still going to be conflicted though, but he's going to at some point have to deal with Ronnie and how to handle that situation. But I look forward to seeing how they're going to tell that story because, like I said, it's a lot of tension they have building right now on all sides. And the way it would end the episode with Ronnie looking at Kanan as a viewer, it makes you very curious to see what's going to happen now because they already told us that Ronnie is a psychopath. So, what is his play now going after Kanan? I can't wait to see what happens next week. So we got to wait and see. But it's a lot to dissect. Well, go
We
ahead,
still
Anna.
haven't forgotten Mr. Streets Need a Body. So that's kind of what I'm wondering. If Mr. Streets need a body, remember how we always have that innocent and famous? Again, he's just a pothead. He's a lazy pothead, but he's just a pothead. He does not want to belong in this situation, right? He doesn't want to sell. He doesn't want to sell, period. He doesn't want it in the house unless he's smoking it. He doesn't want, anything to really do with it. He's like, look, your mom has money. She's giving us money. We can pay the rent, and that's it. I just kind of wonder if, because he looked at them both. It wasn't like just staring at Kanan. Remember, it was Famous who noticed him first. So I wonder if Famous is a threat. It should be interesting. Not a threat, but in danger.
I agree. And to go right off of your theory of what you just said, a Famous very well could be the weakness that Ronnie sees, and he brings that to Kanan's attention. I saw him buying up a whole bunch of product, doing all this other type of stuff. That's why I said I definitely want to see where they're going with that. Because we do know that Ronnie and Kanan are going to have an interaction because we saw that in the season trailer, but we don't know the nature of anything that they discuss. So maybe we'll get our answer next week. But very interesting to look forward to.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, famous could definitely be exploited. Because I mean, just look at Raquel. She put money in his pocket and was like, "Yeah, tell me what Kanan's up to and stuff." So yeah, like, go ahead,
Here's
Dana.
the thing about that scene. I didn't view that as an exploitation. Rock, again, genuinely cares about her son. Her son is currently living in a bummy place with a bum. And I'm sorry to keep calling this. He's a young kid. I don't know why I keep calling him that. But he's living in this awful place where at the moment they don't look like they're going anywhere, you know. And I'm not to say it's not to say that, they're using Famous. Famous is just in a different mindset than Kanan. Remember, that's Kanan's mother. That's not Famous's mother. So Famous has no reason to be mad at Raquel at all. Right now, he's just thankful for that money. They can finally eat something other than pizza. They can afford the place for one more month, you know. So that's why I don't really think he's being exploited. I think is that you see two kids, because at the end of the day, they're two teenagers living on their own with no means of doing of anything. And if it wasn't probably for Kanan, they would have been evicted a long time ago. And you can even see how they responded with Raquel. What did Famous say? If I wasn't kicked out of my house, I would have been home. Remember what I think it was Lulu or Marvin said to Kanan? This is your home. He has a home. Famous does not at all. So yeah, I don't see him being exploited or manipulated. I just see these are two different situations, and you gotta help your son and since your son's not talking to you, you gotta go to the friend because they both live together. Raquel is someone who is as mean and tough as she is a caregiver. Look at how she treats Jukebox. Remember with the necklace? You know, that really made her day. She knows what these kids needs. It's just they're just too dumb sometimes to accept it. Especially Kanan. Famous knows what he needs. He's accepting the help. Jukebox needed that hug and a necklace. She accepted that. So yeah, no, Famous is not exploited. He's just sad.
Oh yeah, so since you brought that up, because that is one of the questions too. Because in that scene where Raquel, she gives Jukebox the necklace, she wishes her good luck for audition and everything. But she does also, ask her to let her know if she finds out what Kanan is up to as well. So, the question was going to be, who would Jukebox be loyal to in that situation? So let's say that she sees Kanan, his new courier business that he's doing, and everything like that, or maybe even sees him with Ronnie. Let's see, she witnesses that, right? Is she going to tell Raquel, or is she going to respect Kanan's decision in not wanting anything to do with Raquel? So, what do you think? She would do in that Jukebox would do in that situation. So, who wants to go first with that one? You want to go first, Rich? It's your turn. Okay.
I just want to say that's a tough question. That's a tough question. I think right now Jukebox is preoccupied with the audition. As she awaits the results of what happens with that, it feels like she's fully focused on that. She's not trying to get into the stuff that's happening with Kanan. But obviously, would she do it as a favor to Raquel? Of course she would. But when it comes to whether or not she would actually tell Raquel, that Kanan's doing something dirty, I don't know about that. I don't, the thing is this, like I said, she has her own things to be focused on right now. At the same time, she is cool with Kanan. So I kind of feel like she wouldn't want to step in anything that he's doing at the moment. And she probably would not want to let Raquel know that information. But it's hard for me to really see her wanting to tell Raquel what's actually happening. But again, I feel like it has to be a reason for that. I don't think she has any resentment towards what happened with Kenya when Kenya getting killed right there at the house. She is aware that obviously that none of that would have happened if Raquel didn't start this thing with the Italians. But she doesn't know to full extent all of this information. She just knows whatever happened with the family business that impacted her mom getting killed. But I don't know if she would hold that against, Raquel. So I kind of feel like if she does see Kanan doing something, she'll probably still keep it to herself. But I guess it really depends. Here's one thing I will say. if she was ever to find out that Howard killed Burke, then maybe that can be a catalyst for something that she would want to say something. Because I know she doesn't like Howard. All right. I think we all know she's not very fond of Howard. So she doesn't really know anything about what happened to Burke. She just knows that there were people in the organization that they were after Burke, but she doesn't know that Howard is the one that killed Burke. If she ever finds that information out, that could probably change a lot of things with that, with how she interacts with certain characters. But I kind of think right now, I would say I think she's preoccupied. So I don't think she would tell Raquel what Kanan is doing unless it impacts her directly. But that's just my guess. I'll be curious to hear what both you and Dana have to say, because I don't think she would tell Raquel, but I could be wrong. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. I kind of side with you. Like I don't think she would say anything right away. Like I think she would just see it and keep it to herself. But then maybe something happens later that forces her to kind of tell Raquel. But Dana, what was you about to say?
It's weird because this is a question. It's more of, is Rock manipulating Jukebox to give information? Here's this beautiful necklace, baby, but tell me about Kanan. So I wonder, and we do know that she cares about her. She cares for her. That I don't question at all. But I do wonder if there's always a motive behind her giving her something, or a motive behind the conversation. Because anytime that they have an argument, she's always looking at Jukebox like, go and talk. I'm waiting for you at the door, kind of thing. So I do wonder about that. And I don't think Jukebox has a problem with telling information like that. It's not great details like, this is what he came, this is what he said, and he's dealing with this, and he has feelings like that. I've never seen her like break down their personal conversations to Raquel. So I think that she's doing fine of telling information while still keeping Kanan's trust. So I think that they can continue that relationship perfectly fine, and it's not going to get in the way of anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Damn, what was I going to say? I was going to say something else, but I forgot. But yeah, no, great points. It's interesting because like Jukebox and Raquel, they do have they have kind of a close relationship too. I mean, we know like with Kanan and Jukebox, they're cousins and like they kind of grew up together. So like that bond is like strong and like it's hard to really mess with that. But Jukebox got real close to Raquel in the previous season because obviously she gave her a place to stay when she wasn't talking to her father. And they kind of bonded a lot then.
You
So
mean when she was assaulted by her father? Not
yeah,
getting along.
exactly.
She was assaulted by her father because she was
Yeah,
gay. So a
exactly.
little bit different.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I guess I didn't say it strong enough, but but yeah, she was assaulted and she needed a place to stay to get away from her father. Um, but yeah, they kind of grew their bond and everything. So it's hard to say. Like I feel like with Jukebox, if she feels like the family is at risk, then she's gonna, maybe help Raquel, to fix the situation. I think like if Kanan is really in danger, like if she was to see him with Ronnie, and just the way they talk about Ronnie, Kanan mentions like what happened to him in this episode, and everybody else kind of knows what happened to this guy. So like if Jukebox was to see him with Ronnie, I feel like she would see that as a threat, like a bad, situation for Kanan to be in. So maybe she would feel like, the family is at risk. So Raquel should know about it. So, it could be something like that. But but yeah, like speaking of telling things, so there was a scene in this episode where, Unique's girl comes home, with the groceries and everything, and then Ronnie's in the kitchen. He's like, "Oh, did you bring my cereal or whatever?" And and he actually, well, she asks him, "Where's Unique?" Because you guys were just at the gym, and he was like, "I don't know where, Unique is." He said it in a very rude way, mind you, so, and then, he's like, "Oh, maybe he's with another girl." And then, of course, later on in the episode, Ronnie is following Unique and he sees him coming out of Raquel's home, and, he's zipping up his zipper and everything, so he knows what's going down. Um, so do you think that Ronnie is actually going to tell the girlfriend out of spite, to Unique that he is messing with another girl and that girl happens to be Raquel? And we know that Raquel and Unique's girl kind of have like a little history in the show because they had that face off, like they had that weird staring contest at the bodega where Raquel used to store her, stash her stuff. And, Unique's girl kind of complained to Unique about that later up, like after that, she was like, "Oh, Raquel was looking at me real weird and stuff." So there's some kind of tension between them already, So what do you think about that? Do you think Ronnie's gonna snitch on his brother? Go ahead, Dana. What do you think?
Ronnie, you have to remember, Ronnie is a mastermind kind of manipulator, maybe. Remember, Mike Myers. So with Mike Myers, him, I just call him Mike Myers. But what Rodney does is I can see him slip in little information that'll get in her head, and then she'll have to confront, and then maybe she's in a car waiting and sneaking and being like, "Yeah, see, look," and like there's a big argument. I hate you, but he seems to be the kind of person who keeps his hands clean, but will let somebody else deal with stuff. So I could definitely see him like, "Oh, he's not home yet? Wow, I wonder where he could be." You know, Rock is always late, stuff like that, where he doesn't say anything direct, where it's just randomly indirect, but it starts plotting that seed in you. So that I definitely see is going to happen. Um, I completely forgot he had a girl, the whole relationship. But it's not anything serious between Rodney and you and whatchamaface, not Rodney, between Unique and Rock. So it'll be. You think it's serious? Richard's giving me the side eye.
I'll make my comment after your takeaway.
It's not serious. It's just Southside. That's it. There's no connection there. I don't see it. But yeah, no, he's just gonna manipulate the situation and let other people do his dirty work.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Rich. I want to hear what you got to say.
Okay, so I agree actually, Dana. It isn't serious. But of course, I will say this. At least in this episode, I feel as though Raquel has let her guard down. The way she looks at Unique, she's like, and she does tell him though, "I don't want any mess coming with you," because she warns him about the Italians. But the mess is going to come, but it's going to come courtesy of Ronnie. So it isn't serious, as you said, but it does feel as though Raquel has let her guard down when it comes to Unique. So I want to see where that's going to go moving forward. But to answer the question, Gary, I actually think that Unique is, I'm going to say Ronnie is going to use this information as leverage to tell Unique, you need to hurry up and get me involved in what's happening on the business side. Because again, he can easily confront his brother about this without bringing it to the attention of the girlfriend yet. That'll be, I think, the last resort where he brings it to the girlfriend's attention. But I definitely think in that next episode, he's going to have a conversation with Unique and say, "Listen, I know you're messing around with Raquel," and then try to see how he can use that to his advantage to get involved. Like, for example, they introduced in this episode that Unique is now working, with the heroin supplier, and he is basically the main guy that they saw when he came to the shop. They introduce himself. So what if Ronnie says, "Well, no, Now you need to have me as the person that's coming in there. That may throw them off because they're now getting used to working with Unique. So I kind of feel like he's going to use this as a way so he can get in and actually get more involved in whatever Unique is doing. But of course, I think he will have ulterior motives, obviously, because at the end of the day, as you both said, he is a thinker. He's going to definitely have a contingency plan. But I definitely think more than anything else, the first person he's coming back to is Unique because he knows, he sees he's creeping around with Raquel. So I think he's going to come to him before he comes to the girlfriend. But again, I want to see if that's the path they're going to go into. But I do want to say this, Gary. Excellent observation about noticing the tension between the girlfriend and Raquel, because yes, that totally happened. And that's why I say they keep referencing stuff that happened in the past so that they can revisit it again in the future. So excellent observation, I have to say.
Oh yeah, that's first of all, thanks. But that's what's great about Raising Kanan, because it really feels like the story is so tight knit. Like they really paid attention and set things up from 2 seasons ago and stuff. Like, and even last season as well. It's like they know exactly the story they want to tell, and they're referencing, all of the history of the show and stuff. So like all of it is still relevant. So that's what's great about this show. So shouts to Sasha Penn and everyone involved. But Dana, you was going to say something.
Yes, I was going to say that it's really interesting that Ronnie not only, sprinkled those seeds in the girl's head, but he was the one who was also in the back looking to see where exactly, what exactly was Unique doing. And I felt that he's really angered his brother because he lied to him. And this is going to have like double consequences for Unique. Ronnie, again, he doesn't seem like someone you should lie to. So what is he using the girl in order to make them break up? Because he does seem like the person who will destroy your relationship, everyone around you, and then get to you last. So I just wonder, is there multiple factors to get back at a Unique at play at the same time? So that should be really interesting. Using, for example, Kanan's son as a way of manipulation. That gets to Raquel, which also touches Unique. So that should be an interesting dynamic too. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Oh Lord, I can't mute.
Yeah, have a drink or something. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, like, and I agree with what you said as well, Dana, earlier about like, because I could totally see Ronnie kind of like drip feeding clues to the girlfriend about what Unique is doing. Like that's definitely a type of like psychopathic thing that he would do. Just like giving her little subtle hints, and then she's out driving, trying to figure out what the clue is, where like, oh, Unique was where? Let me go see what that is, like something like that. So that would be interesting to see as well. But yeah, great thoughts overall. Go ahead, Rich.
Can I just make one comment before you go to the next question? I just want to say I did laugh when I saw the Honey Nut Cheerios box because it made me think about a certain beef between two particular people related to somebody that has starred on this show. Of course, Lala Anthony, Carmelo Anthony, and Kevin Garnett, the little beef that they had. So I did laugh when I saw that box, though. So I just want to make a comment about that.
Richard, what did she
explain
taste
that?
like?
Explain that.
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Oh.
Explain that because I'm British. I don't know about that beef. What happened?
Well, Carmelo Anthony, he used to. That was his ex, Lala Anthony. Kevin Garnett made a joke saying that she tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios. So they had beef behind that. Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
but what made it worse was people would show up to their games with a box of Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was extra insulting.
Yes.
Hilarious, but terrible. So, yeah.
And
then
Carmelo.
I just...
Oh, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I was gonna just say that I made a really quick observation that made me cry because prices. If you looked when they went to the Chinese restaurant, the prices were $4.75,
Hmm.
and I just cried. You could get like the shrimp and broccoli, the beef and broccoli, all the General Style chicken, $4.75. I just cried because you cannot get those prices today.
Oh, absolutely not. No. Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's that's definitely some '90s prices right there. Like, because even over here, like you're paying like almost £10 a dish. Like, so it's crazy. Like, um, but yeah, great thoughts about the whole Ronnie thing. I definitely want to see what the people think. Um, so I want to talk about Lulu. I don't really have like a direct question about Lulu, but I just want to hear you guys like, talk about him. I know I think I think both of you actually mentioned him in your takeaways, but I want to talk a bit more about him, just because he was a big focal point in the episode. And, I guess one question is, could be like, do you think he's found his calling now? Like, is this going to be the new direction for him? Working at that bar, striking a partnership with the bartender, the owner, and everything. But also just, give me your thoughts on what you think about him in this episode in particular. And you can also chime in on, the little information that we got about their father, because that was interesting also. So Dana, what was your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, I think he found his new purpose. Remember, this is something he was attracted to by the music alone. It was the jazz club, and he's like the blues, and I was like, oh, it's because he's feeling bluesy. But no, he hears his dad on the horn, and that's why he came in. So it's interesting how they decided to introduce the dad. We know he's dead. We never see him. We hear him through the music, and it's to me, it just goes to show that even when you're dead, there's a legacy. There's that something that you leave behind. And with him and his music, and it literally called to his son. So, wow, that was nice how they did that. And at that moment, we did see that Lulu is mourning the death of his music business, kind of. And he's way too late to get to Jukebox's performance. You see all the music, how it connected. And so I really liked how, no, that's later, but still, you see how he's still attracted to this place. And I really liked how they did that. And it was just an easy conversation. And it was like, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? And she's like, sure. Bring in business, turn in what you like. And she's really open to that change. And it kind of seemed like they was waiting for each other in that way of, I need a new way to start a new business, and I need a way to turn around my business. So I really like that. And then also, I've obviously never been to jazz clubs, but it was really random. I guess it was open mic night. They had the rappers in there. I don't, sometimes you have the jazz, you have the rapping. So it's just really like this cool, like, what would you call it? I don't know what you would call it. Oh, I can't think of the word, but it's like the open mic night situation where this is like the up and coming stars. I don't know what the equivalent of that would be in like a hip hop term. I know that there's just plenty of documentaries, but in New York City there was a place called CBGB's, which was kind of that, but for punk and rock and roll, where it was just this bar you go to and random young people would play, and they would later on become really big acts in the future. So that is basically the equivalent of what's going on here. And, I really like how that's going with him. It's something that's completely different. If you would have said in the very beginning, is this where you would probably see him being? I would have said no, because, him doing that business with Crown seemed to be more plausible, having that record studio. But this is a way where he can completely get Raquel out of his business and still continue his business. She has no ownership over that. And he seemed really happy when he was having that conversation. And the fact that we learned a lot about his father in terms of music, and we learned where his appreciation for music came from. But it's really interesting how he said, his father basically gave up on life. And he says that in kind of like, I don't want to say a complete resentment, but you could tell that that is something that he doesn't want to do. When he was, for example, was in that scene with Kanan on the floor where they were sharing a bottle, it seemed that was his low point right there, right? That also, when he was in the club completely drunk with Marvin, seemed like maybe that was the low spot right there. And maybe internally it reminded him of his father. But once he started to hear the music again, that metaphor, it grew him. And now look at where he's at. He has that promise and that hope. And the fact that his father kind of became a failure. I had a conversation with Malcolm Mays about finding success in his father's failure. He does not want to be his father. He's going to work to be the complete opposite. So he's down, but unlike his father, he's not going to stay down. So I like the dynamic of where they're going, and that it's a fresh new start.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great insight there. And yeah, let's hear from Richard first. So Richard, what do you think about Lulu? Like, has he found his calling? And just anything else you want to add about Lulu as well in this episode?
I definitely believe that Lulu has found his calling. I like how this episode focused a lot more on him and really tried to give you a perspective of where you could potentially see the character go from here. It's hard for me to understand. I mean, I know what his goal is, of what his plan is to basically do at this club now. I'm not really sure how it's going to be impacted. Obviously, we still know that even though he is not a part of the drug game anymore, there are people that are still looking, they're still after his family to a certain extent. So I would like to see where they're going to go with that. But it's hard for me to really imagine what else they're going to do with the character outside of this, because they can go in a lot of different directions. One thing that I would be curious to know is if at any point we're going to potentially get introduced to people that come by this club. There's one person in particular that I am curious to know if we're going to find out if this person ever comes by the club or is going to be a part of this discussion. And that is, of course, another person who also owned a club, which we learned about in the original Power show, Ghost's father, Curtis St. Patrick. They said that he owned a club and he got killed because there was some drug dealers wanted money he didn't pay up. So I'm kind of curious to know if you may see an appearance of this particular character. I'm not saying he's going to become a frequent member of this club, but let's say it becomes a success. This person stops by and has a look at the club. They could definitely do that. I just don't know if they're going to take that particular direction, because I was trying to think about that connection, because that's something that we didn't really get any information on as far as the backstory is concerned. We only knew about Gabe, who was, very close with Ghost, but we didn't know anything about his father. So I'll be curious to know, because again, that guy also owned a jazz club. So I kind of feel like that's there for a reason. So I want to know if that's something that could potentially happen. But outside of that, I just think they're going to focus on Lulu trying to basically go for his passion, which is the music, and really try to focus on bringing something out of that. But again, by association, because of the family that he is a part of, because of the fact that the feds, they're now looking at Raquel, they're probably going to start looking at Marvin and also Lulu as well. So I want to see if that's going to be a bad thing for him moving forward. Because like I said, everything was positive for him. Of course, him getting into the fight that wasn't positive because he missed out on the audition. But now that he has a clear vision of what he wants to do, that's a positive, but there's some negatives that are going to come with that as well. So I want to see how they're going to align that up side by side.
It's I'm gonna let you go in a sec there, and I just want to say this real quick. Like, it's real funny that you said that about Ghost, because like when that scene happened where he was talking about his father and stuff, that's where my mind went. Like, I remember that scene of Ghost in like where he was talking about his dad at the bar or whatever. Like, So it's interesting that you mentioned that, and that would be a cool little Easter egg if they included Ghost Dad or something. But Dana, you were gonna say something.
I had the complete opposite reaction in terms of I forgot Ghost and them existed because I was so invested with this story. I wasn't playing connect the dots with the other Power show, and I kind of like it that way. And I know originally at first when the show first started, we are like, "Where's Tommy? Where's Ghost? Where's this guy?" I'm loving where they're going with these characters being so disconnected from the future that I kind of don't want that Easter egg in there. So I don't want to meet Ghost Daddy or anybody else's daddy. I'm just happy with the environment that we have right now. And I want to say one thing in terms of Lulu, because he got into a fight, he missed Jukebox situation. I think it was for the not for the best. Well, yes, for the best also, but it really allowed for Marvin to step up and be like dad. And that's something that we haven't seen. I want to say this: when I went to the season 3 premiere, they showed the first episode. One of the things where people were literally standing up and applauding was when Marvin hugged Juke, because that was something that we've been waiting for so long, to see that transformation of, he always loved his daughter. He did not know how to express it, and Jukebox never felt love. She was told she was loved. She never truly felt it. And with this episode, it's like, I love you. I feel the love. We're hugging each other. You know, we're there for each other. And I think with Lulu there, it would have probably distracted that a little bit. And it would have took away that daughter and father time that they had with each other. So I feel that everything worked out for a reason. Lulu was able to find the music and the passion and stayed with him because he came back and made that proposal. So I think that was one of those times where everything was meant to be. Lulu focused on that thing. Marvin got to be super dad, and he was encouraging. And you're gonna do great, big girl. When she got off the stage, what did she do? She ran into her father's arms like a small child. Like, all I was waiting for him to just lift her in the air and swing her around. It was such a beautiful, natural moment that I didn't want Lou there. I just loved how they just was right there for each other. And that's because you blew him away. That's why you only got 30 seconds. Like, that was so welcoming. And Jukebox just needed that so much. So yay for how it worked out for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. That was a very touching, like father daughter moment, between Marvin and Jukebox. The fact that they were alone and stuff, and he was just supporting her. Like that was like really good to see. Especially coming after what you said, Dana. He assaulted her. So just to see his transformation after going through anger management, and he obviously he lost Renee, someone he cared about, and yeah, like he's come a long way. And that's the final question as well. I wanted to ask you guys what you think of, because this is my favorite character, so I have to talk about him as well. But Marvin, what do you think about him in this episode? Because his standout moment, well, the jukebox was definitely one standout moment, but also he actually went to go help Joe. And if you remember in season 2, he actually, like, these two didn't like each other at first at the anger management class. Like they were arguing, because the Joe dude, he gets angry when people ignore him or whatever. And Marvin, like, he intentionally tried to ignore him or whatever, and then they started arguing. But then they became friends, and we see in this episode that Joe found himself in trouble and reached out to Marvin, and he came and helped him. And that was a pretty cool scene to see, because obviously Marvin probably still, he's probably still a little bit hurt over what happened with Renee, because she got killed because of the Italian beef and everything. So, just the fact that he's still kind of, well, he probably doesn't keep in touch, but like he's still helping out, the people from the anger management class. That was a cool little nod, to see. So, I just wanted to ask you guys what you thought of, Marvin in this episode, and in particular that scene, of Joe. So, Rich, I'll go to you first this time. What do you think?
I thought that was an excellent Easter egg that they put in this episode, just to again remind you of where Marvin came from, where he's going. And I did when I saw that guy. Oh yeah, I remember this guy from last season. Joe. I will admit that he was looking at the badge, and the badge made mention of the voice staff. I was thinking to myself, does this guy play any role in potentially helping Jukebox? But no, this is really about, and again, I guess that's to be determined, but I think this is really about the fact that Marvin is still dealing with what happened last season. Maybe feeling a little bit of guilt because this guy, obviously, I guess we can all conclude this guy was messing around with some drugs. He was down real bad, and Marvin was there to try to help him, get him out of the situation. I wonder if that's going to be an issue moving forward, because this guy has a serious issue. So I kind of feel like it's a lot for him to have to carry that burden too, though, because again, Marvin, he's a drug dealer, right? You see people impacted by this stuff on a regular basis. We saw that last season with the other guy that he had to deal with, and he had to kill him. So that's why I said, very curious to see what happens with that particular relationship, that dynamic. But I'm glad they put that in there because, again, they're referencing this character has gone through the anger management classes. He's a changed man, and you're getting a reminder of what he went through last season. So I appreciate that they did put that in there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Like, the writers really know what they're doing, like planting these seeds and like, referencing things in the past. So they do a great job of that. But Dana, what's your thoughts on Marvin?
I know you guys are not from New York City, but I automatically thought of the Village Voice. That he is a journalist. I go back to the 90s, but I strongly, I'm 50%, maybe 56% sure that he's a journalist from the Village Voice.
What is the
So
Village Voice?
it's like a newspaper
Oh, okay.
in New York City. So that's what automatically what I thought of. And so I kind of wondered, I first thought it was like a setup. Then I thought, why is he's a journalist, but he called Marvin. So I was like, is there a story that they're trying to get? Is is this all one big ploy? I don't trust anything. So it was two things that I thought was, remember how Marvin did that good deed towards the guy in the wheelchair and how it came back to him and it saved his life? I was wondering if by essentially saving Joe's life, if it's going to be a good deed that comes back to him. But at the same time, I have anxiety and I'm also just a pessimist. So I'm like, how is this going to bite him back in the end? Is he doing a story on him? Is he going to define, like he's a drug dealer? Is this somehow tied to the FBI? I just don't know. So I do hope it's positive. I do hope, for example, that it helps, say, Jukebox out and he writes an article about Jukebox, the new star in Queens, something like that. I don't know, but I don't think that they put in random moments for no good reason. So that I believe is going to play a part in the upcoming episodes. I just don't know how.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, because the way like that happened is like they want you to see that, they want you to see that the voice, ID card or whatever it was. So yeah, that is going to come into play somehow. Um, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see, and we'll see what the commenters have to say about that as well, because I'm sure there's going to be some theories. But let's get some final thoughts now, and then we'll end off there. So yeah, just anything you think we missed talking about, you can bring it up now, or just give your final thoughts or whatever. For me, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said earlier, it wasn't as action packed as the previous one because we had a big hit in the last one, like with Marvin taking out Saul. But this was it was still very interesting. There was a lot of moving parts, a lot of character introspection and stuff. I really liked the deep dive into Lulu, a little bit, because this character has been somewhat closed off in the past. Like, he's very cold and kind of doesn't, he doesn't say a lot of what he's thinking. He's been very reserved in the past, but in this episode, you kind of really got into his head a little bit. Even when he was in prison, and like you see that he's hallucinating and he's seeing D Wiz and Scrappy, so that stuff is still bothering him. So just little things like that made this a really good episode to me. So great job to the staff, all the actors, and Sasha Penn as well. They're doing a great job with Raising Kanan. So that's it. That's my final thoughts. But how about you, Dana?
Am I the only person who thinks that Raquel's act, right, her movements are an act? That she knows that the feds are watching, and that she's like just doing things out in the open on purpose, you know, in terms of buying that lot, making it seem like she's going to have some kind of business or something that she's running. Because Raquel has always been very, what's that word? Uh, 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 she's basically on her game. And she knows that if somebody is following her, she knows that the feds might be there. She knows what vans look like. And also, she has an in with Howard, who they had a discussion with about feds. So I'm wondering if she's doing and making certain moves that it's for them, the feds, to get them off her back, to make her seem like she's just being normal. I just wonder about that. Another thing that really kind of caught my eye was the fact that um, 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 Jukebox sung a lyric that said, "I love you better than your own kin did." And just for that moment, she was singing it to herself. So I'm hoping and wondering if she's like finding self love and acceptance within herself. That would have been really nice and really, really beautiful. So, yay to that. Um, and then another thing that is really interesting for me is that I think that may be it. Just bring back the 475 prices, because that would be really nice. But other than that, I'm interested in learning of how, this big bowl, how it also is going to cause bigger, situations for them. Like, for example, Tony Danza's character, who's I'll always completely forget, but he's gone right now. But when he comes back and he sees what Unique is doing, I wonder if he's gonna, try to take him out, or there's gonna be some kind of vengeance that they're gonna do. I hope they just didn't have Tony Danza for those 2, 3 little scenes from this whole show, and that's it. I hope he comes back and has a larger part, a larger role as well. So then everything other than that, just it was a really good episode. Oh, one thing I did want to touch upon was Malcolm going to Temple. Well, he wanted to go to Temple, but he had a call, and I don't know if he really had a call, but he was just making that as an excuse. Is it a sense of like he knows that everything that he's doing is wrong, and he really wanted to atone for his sins? Because he hasn't been, as they explained, he hasn't been to the mosque or temple in a while, and it was the guy, I don't know the proper terminology, but came out to greet him and was like, you coming in? So I really wonder if he's going to start struggling like the inner demons with himself, and that whole what he did is wrong. But then at the same time, he's also interrogating Detective Foyle. So I wonder how this is going to start eating him up internally. So that should be a really interesting way that they kind of make his storyline for this season, if they go that far, because he's just acting really really extra. He's being, to me, so obvious by constantly bringing it up and constantly trying to be so bold with the manipulations. And as we saw in the previous episode when he was at the funeral, oh Lord, she was so good. She had a lot of things she was struggling with, but oh my gosh, she was the best. It was giving me too much. It was a little bit of, I'll be missing you every step I take, every move you make. So I wonder if his little showmanship is going to come back to him. And we do know that the captain, right now, he's just being buried with feds everywhere. And that conversation that he had with Howard kind of seemed like they're trying to push him out. Am I wrong with that? But it felt like, one, he was being overwhelmed, and two, they maybe end up pushing him out of his job. So I wonder where that's going to go.
You mean pushing out the captain or Howard?
The captain. Because remember, the
All right.
captain was like completely overwhelmed, and there were feds everywhere. Like they took over the department, essentially. And it just he just felt really kind of overwhelmed and despondent. And he was saying, essentially, it looked like he was going to be pushed out of his job. So I wonder where they're going to go with that. And then the fact that, they talked about how the previous officer, he did so much dirt that's how, Ronnie and everyone else got released. So it's going to just create a lot of more chaos in the streets. And the captain looks like he's at that line now where he's like, I don't know if I'm fired or I quit, but it looks like one of the two is going to happen.
No, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. He does seem like he's kind of losing control of his environment, like his station. So that could be an interesting story if that unfolds, and he ends up getting pushed out. But yeah, great final thoughts overall, though. And how about you, Richard? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was an excellent episode. One thing I do want to say, though, as a final thought, I know you mentioned earlier in this discussion, Gary, that you think that Omar Epps, he does an excellent job as Howard, very convincing conversation with Foyle. But I would not have done that, because the important thing about that conversation, I listened to how he said certain things to her, and he made the comment about, Burke said some stuff that might have been true, wasn't her business, and it's not yours either. That's just enough to keep her attention to still wanting to go after and find out, well, what did she tell Howard? What was she right about Howard? That's why I said I would not have approached her at all. Yeah, we know that he found out about that she was still pushing this thing forward. But if I was that character, I would not have approached her at all, because now you look more suspicious, and I think that's going to cause him more issues in the episodes to come. But yes, it was excellent acting by Omar Epps, of course. I agree 100%. But this character he's in a lot of trouble. So stay tuned.
Can I just say really quickly, unless we don't see it happen on camera, it didn't happen, and we did not see Howard destroy the recorder. Because remember, Burke recorded everything in that car, including the bang bangs. So I didn't see it get destroyed, and he looks like he's going through like something of faith right now, because he's staring at the temple like, dear Lord, are you even going to let me into heaven? So I'm wondering if that means he still has the recording. And maybe he sleeps to it at night and he cries himself to sleep in the pillow. I don't know.
Maybe.
No, that's a great point about the tape. Like, did he destroy it? I mean, he's a fool not to destroy it, but this is TV. There has to be
But he's
drama
a
and
fool.
suspense. Yeah. I mean,
There you go.
yeah, he is a fool. Yeah, he's made some foolish decisions. That's for sure. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that being a thing where the tape resurfaces or something. So good point. Good yeah, good callback. But yeah, that is gonna be it for this episode of the Powercast. I can't wait to see what the people think of this one, what all the theories are gonna be. But yeah, great, great episode. We enjoyed it. And that is going to be it for today. We will be back next week to recap episode 4 of Raising Kanan season 3. So until then, everybody take care of yourselves. I know everybody's probably getting ready for the holidays by now. Christmas is fast approaching. So yeah, just take care of yourselves, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Peace out.